Now, first up, this afternoon, the Ghana Individual Bondholders Forum is expected to meet with the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, later in the day. This follows a petition to the Minister for members to be excluded from government's domestic debt exchange program. The Finance Minister will be seeking to convince the individual bondholders on the need to embark on the program. Here with a look ahead is Dr. Daniel Amate-Anim, who is Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon. What should be the posture of both parties going into that meeting today?
Thank you very much. I perceive the bondholders to put up a very aggressive posture, but the onus lies on the finance minister to be more flexible in that respect. They have to minimize technicalities. They need to come down to terms with them. They need to be flexible in their approach in negotiating with the bondholders, and they need to communicate efficiently and effectively in a manner that will appeal to the conscience of the bondholders. So largely, the onus lies on the finance ministry, the team that will be meeting them. They need to be decorum and courteous with the language. They shouldn't be too technical. They must, at the beginning of the discussion, agree with them that yes, they are right. But looking at the dynamics and the realities within our economy, there's a need for this action. Once they agree or they align with them on this tone, then they can now springboard to negotiate the terms in a manner that they can have a very win-win situation. So largely, I'm of the view that the finance ministry has a huge responsibility in communicating or in creating the environment for a fruitful discussion in this particular respect.
But what is it they are going to say at that meeting that they already haven't said? I know you mentioned that communication is important. What can they say at this point to convince the individual bondholders that this is the way to go?
If you recall, the finance ministry failed to engage stakeholders holistically. So this is an opportunity for them to apologize that we have erred by not engaging you. It is because of the pressure we're facing, and that's the reason which we trigger the gun without engaging you. We are very sorry, in a manner that they will appreciate. So once they level that particular ground, then they will give them a listening here, even though they might have heard it on a number of platforms. Once they have listened to them, then they also tell them the side of government, and they walk them through the path so that at the end of the day, they get to a level ground or an equilibrium ground that will ensure that they come out with a very amicable settlement. So it is an opportunity for the finance ministry not to assume that these people might have heard their posture, their position, but to just tell them that, no, we are human. It is as a result of the pending pressure we're facing as managers of the economy. And that's the reason which probably we erred by not engaging you right from the beginning. But this is a fine opportunity. We want you to understand this, and so that we can roll out a policy to save this economy.
But what is difficult is the entrenched position taken by the bondholders. I had one rep speak on radio earlier saying, well, they are not backing down on their demand that they should not be included in the debt exchange program. That makes it more difficult.
Certainly so. Excuse me. Certainly so. And that's the reason which the finance ministry, they must come to terms. They have to be flexible in terms of their communication mechanisms. Of course, they should expect a certain degree level of aggressiveness from the bondholders because their investment is locked up. Okay, so they should expect all the negatives from them. But it is their responsibility to admit and ensure that they create the environment. Of course, it depends on how the finance ministry, for that matter, the team that will be engaging these people will approach this particular. I'm of the view that this particular discussion, they ought to have engaged a very expert, somebody who have a knowledge in ADR in terms of negotiation to be able to guide the finance ministry team to be able to minimize or cap nerves in this particular respect. It's a very difficult, they are going to have a very difficult or a very aggressive banter, but they should understand that, yes, the Bible even says it, that where your treasure is, that is where your heart is. And this is a hard-earned money that they are not going to have access to within the shortest possible time. So the finance ministry should appreciate it from that end. Okay. And they should be able to, if possible, try to meet them halfway that to me, that will be a better position going forward.
Do you think the January 31 deadline given would work this time around?
I'm afraid it won't. It won't, and then that's the reason which the finance ministry should be able to, devise strategies in terms of their communication. Because as it stands now, I'm afraid they will not be able to meet finalize issues with respect to the deadlines and defense that they give themselves.
Okay, thanks for being frank with your thoughts there. Dr. Daniel Mate, Executive Director of the Policy Initiative for Economic Development. We'll be watching to see the outcome of that meeting. But we have some good news. The year-on-year inflation rate at factory gate prices for all goods and services fell to 52.3% in December 2022 from 78% recorded in November 2022, according to data from the Ghana Statistical Service. Now, the monthly change rate was minus 13.3%, indicating the rate of inflation slowed during the month under review. The producer price index for December 2023 is, however, not too different. December 2022, I should say, is not too different from the consumer price index for the same period. Now, perhaps this could signal a fall in the consumer price index, or what we generally know as the inflation rate for January 2023. So we continue to look at that as well and see what figures we would have when the Ghana Statistical Service presents the inflation figures for the month of January 2023. But industries have to grapple with the city's depreciation. The Association of Ghana Industries is making a passionate appeal to government to take steps to address the depreciation of the city, warning if the trend continues, it could erode the gains made during the December period. The association's comment coming at a time the city has come under immense pressure. The city has so far declined in value to the dollar by about 12%. Chonam Akpelo is Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the AGI.
For us in industry, what we need is the stability of the currency. We want to be able to plan 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. The only way we are able to plan is if we know that the currency is stable. As it is now, you sit in a boardroom, you make a plan. In less than a week, the plan is thrown out of gear because of how the currency is dancing on a daily basis. And we're saying that we need a regime that allows for stability. And that's really what we are calling for. Sometimes it goes so down, sometimes it goes so up. We don't want that. We want stability. And we are asking the managers of the economy to consider very seriously to see how they can be able to stabilize the currency. That's really what we need.
Now, as government plans to start the new national airline sometime this year, some stakeholders within the sector are asking for more private-public partnership to sustain the new airline. James Ishen has been speaking to some stakeholders in this report.
Aviation is crucial to international business, trade, and tourism. Ghana's aviation industry has more than 20 aviation operators and includes those employed in the servicing of aircraft, management of airports, air traffic control operators, ground handlers, airport security, and immigration, as well as customs. The Minister for Transport, Kweku Ofori-Siama, announced that Ghana Airlines will start operations this year. But CEO of McDan Group of Companies, Daniel Macaulay, is asking for more engagement to ensure a robust aviation sector.
The whole world is turning into. The past year, 2022, had been a serious struggling year. And we saw things that we have never seen before in this country. We have seen too many things happening in terms of business. And I feel that the politicians did their best. The government did what they had to do. Right now, the selected private sector with voice must have some voice with ideas. I'm a private sector driven person, and anything in the private sector works. I mean, the world is moving on, and Ghana, I'm one of the few people who think Ghana is still a socialist country, yet we are using capitalist law to govern this country. So if you are a socialist country, you have to support such businesses, but it's difficult. So if we have to move to capitalism, such initiative must be headed by the private sector.
Managing Director for TAG Angola, Diane Chun, is asking for government to engage the private sector.
The ups and downs that you're talking about might be what? Sort of like fuel costs, yeah. It's like all industries, we are struggling with the rising cost of living. As you know, oil and gas prices have gone up, supplier prices have gone up, and what we need to do is make sure that our services are as efficient as possible, so our onboard product is efficient, and that way we're not passing on too many of these costs to the customer. For us, Ghana also, we see this as very much a gateway into Africa, because Ghana is a very popular place at the moment for conventions and events. So inbound tourism, inbound conventions, inbound conferences. So together we think our two countries can work very, very well together. We want to build those economic ties.
Ghana's airline is expected to operate as the country's national carrier following the decision to award Ashanti Airlines and its operational and financial partner, Zotus Group, a tender to commence business.
It depends on the market that you're in. So private sector ownership works very, very well in some places. It doesn't work as well in other places. Public sector ownership has its challenges also in terms of what we would call a legacy carrier that has maybe a lot of old policies and processes that haven't been changed in years because it's more difficult to do so. Whereas I think a private sector airline is potentially more able to react more.
All right, some stakeholder views on a new national airline, which we expect sometime this year. Fingers crossed still. Well, next, our business advisory series. The last couple of days, we have been talking about tax planning and why it is important for business survival. Today, we want to add managing your cash flow and why it is important in these austere times. Gilbert Yurinchi-Addo is Senior Manager, Tax and Regulatory at Deloitte Ghana, joins me in studio to discuss. It's great to have you in the studio. Welcome. Welcome.
Good to have you too.
So cash flow is important component for managing our finances, businesses as well. So in this time of austerity, how do you manage your cash flow?
I mean, great. I mean, cash flows are very much important, as you have alluded to. Now, to be able to manage that, you have to have an effective management accounting system in place. And that will then set out the budgeting policies you have in place. And you also have to put in place monitoring systems, to monitor the key budget holders. And this will dovetail into you having to look at the actual performance as against what you set out to do. And where there are variances, you try to find out reasons why there are those variances, be it positive or negative, and then take proactive measures, to address them head on. And this should be done on an intermittent basis. It can be done quarterly or half year or monthly. That is the only way you can be able to stay afloat. And you need serious monitoring, and you need to hold the budget holders accountable. Accountability is very key, and they have to be able to provide prompt responses in order to be able to, address some of the teething issues that may come up.
And I guess it also requires some monitoring as well once you demand accountability. So what are the systems that you can put in place to monitor and also to demand accountability? Great.
So I did allude to the fact that you need to have key budget holders. So let's go into a business setting. You have HR, you have accounting, you have procurement. At the beginning of every year, they come with their estimates, what they intend to do. Some will be cost centers, some will be cost and revenue centers at the same time. Now, they set out plans in order to maybe raise revenue. They set out plans in order to incur certain costs that will inure towards the generation of revenue. So these are the key budget holders. Hold them accountable. You set out to do A, B, C, D. For instance, at the beginning of the financial year in my firm, I'm giving a budget. And then I sit down with my team. We have a discussion, we have a conversation. How are we going to meet this set target? Intermittently, and we do that on a monthly basis. We are checking. Why are we not meeting? What are the issues? Are there clients that are not performing well? Do they have issues? So promptly, you're able to then head on address issues. So that is the only way you need to hold them accountable. And accountability, moves with providing prompt response and reasons for those response. Why are these clients not paying? They may have cash flow issues, but then you sit in your corner and you just, client A is not paying. You yourself, you need to ask yourself, am I being reasonably accountable? But you take that proactive measures, engage the client, find out reasons why. Then that will then propel you to look for other businesses that can then offset this particular client that may not be forthcoming in terms of revenue generation.
And how do you deal with clients that are not forthcoming? Number one, you want your money. Number two, you don't want to lose the client. How do you manage?
It's all about engagement. You see, I always say that the client should be your wife, your girlfriend, your friend. You see, it's a relational business. So the client, you must always be visible at the client. It can be digital, it can be physical. I always say that I love direct marketing. I'll walk into offices, have a conversation, find out why you are facing these challenges. What can we do together? Of course, there are bad times and good times. And any reasonable business that knows that you were with them during the bad times will always remember you during the good times. It's a natural human phenomenon. You get it?
Well, I get it because we all understand what is happening. And so it's good that both businesses reason and then come to a logical conclusion on matters. Let's talk about, you're talking a lot about austerity during these times, and people are wondering how to manage expenditure, deal with taxes as well. I want to find out from you how businesses can do that, manage their balance sheets as well so that they stay competitive.
Good. I would say that the first thing is to understand what the word austerity means. How do you plan when you don't even understand what austerity is? Government is saddled with what? Heavy debt. And if you read the literature, they will tell you that, there are three forms of what? Austerity, types of austerity measures. One is where government will seek to what? Increase revenue, high taxes, to be able to mobilize sufficient revenue in order to curtail or meet or manage the public debt. The other thing is the Angela Merkel principle. When Germany found itself in such crisis, what did Angela Merkel propose? What they did was, okay, fine, in as much as you seek to what? Increase taxes, do away with what? Unnecessary public spending. Because it's also another measure of raising in what? Revenue. So that you prioritize. That is when the economy of scales, the economy that we learn, scarcity of resources and all those planning comes to bear. You prioritize and focus on that which is important and that which will help the economy. And the free economic thinkers, they are also of the view that you lower taxes as well as what? Lower what? Government spending. And with that, and these are schools of thought. An understanding of this will help you to what? Have an efficient plan in place. So when we come to the Ghana situation, already there's a lot of tax handles in the economy. Government have put up a lot of policies in place in order to raise revenue. E-levy is going on, VAT has been increased. There are other measures that are running in order to shore up the revenue mobilization situation in the country. So that is already running. GRA was able to what? Exceed its target over, I think, 3.6 billion. I hope I'm quoting right. But then, if you read the news, you see that GRA has managed to what? Exceed. So that drive is there. They are doing tax audit, tax amnesty is there running, and they are doing all these things to show up the revenue. So for businesses, what do? Compliance. I always say that when it comes to taxation, the best tax planning for me as a tax consultant is three things. And these three things comes with what? It's sanctions. Your reporting requirement. You need to report and report right. How do you report and report right? Have the requisite skill sets And that is where consultants come in handy. Sometimes some businesses want to do it themselves and you end up creating a mess for yourself. Report right, you need to file at the right time. Taxation is law. You are enshrined by law to file at this date. Make sure you comply. You have made a savings. And then do what? Pay what you have to pay. Now, all these three parameters that I've mentioned comes with what sanctions.
All right. We have 1 minute on this topic. Businesses want to stay profitable despite these challenges. So what can they do to stay profitable? Your advice to them?
Good. So have an efficient management accounting system in place. And that will take us into appropriate budgeting, monitoring the KPIs that you set out in the budget. Make sure that you hold the key budget holders accountable, prompt evaluation, and then prompt remedial action where there are excesses on how to deal with this. That will help you to manage your cash. That will help you to also manage your expenditure lines.
Right.
And then for taxes, lastly, like I did allude to, make sure that you do not play with your compliance system.
All right. Gilbert Yurinchi Ado, Senior Manager, Tax and Regulatory, Deloitte Ghana. We'll be having you on tomorrow as well.
Great.
Actually.
Yes.
So we'll have a lot more to talk about. I appreciate your time with us. You're watching The Marketplace. Let's do this last segment. Well, a new year has begun, and most of us will be looking to make some advances in our careers. One of the platforms people like to use to build their profile is the LinkedIn platform, but most people don't get it right. So my colleague Isaac Atasenyako, who is also a tech enthusiast, joins me on Zoom to do Let's Talk Tech today. Henry Kobler is away, can join us. And so Isaac will be holding the fort. Great to speak with you, Isaac, from the newsroom. So first of all, tell us about the importance of the LinkedIn platform.
Great. So thank you, Darryl, for having me. So when we talk about LinkedIn, it's as simple as carrying the world of job market online. So for instance, if we say that, or maybe in the past, you may want to drop a CV, or you may want to walk personally to the office of a company to drop an application. This time, we are saying that we live in that era where you don't really have to walk or do a physical walk-in, but there is a platform that connects businesses and also professionals. So it's always important for you to keep that profile. It's always important for you to build that brand that you want to be known for, so that it makes it easy for companies, for the industry to recognize you. And also for you as an individual or a professional, it makes it easy for you to reach out to, let's say, companies or the industry that you are in. It has that platform of the connection of so many professionals that you can be able to tap in. You may never know where the next opportunity is coming from. And we are just saying that if you're on your own, it's quite difficult to, grab all of these things in a go.
So, I mean, how does one optimize their profile? Any tips?
Great. So I'm going to share a few with you. And one of the most important things here is your profile picture. Now, it's very, very important because if you walk into an office, I need to be able to identify who I am, and I need to know who I am dealing with. Now, when we are online or you have a profile online and you fail to upload a profile picture, what it means is that I'm just probably connecting with someone I do not know, I cannot see by face. So a profile picture is very, very important. I'll tie that in with the background photo as well. So you realize that you also need a background photo. When you click on a LinkedIn account, you see this blank space at the top, on top of the bar. Now, that's also important because it's one of the few things that attracts people to your profile to check you out. So the visual, it's important to always keep an outlook that will keep people attracted, that will draw people to you, to your profile, to check what you have and what you are doing. Again, your headline. Now, some people just want to keep it simple, keep their headline as just, let's say, their job title. But the world is changing, things are evolving. It becomes boring over time.
Okay.
So you've got to be creative, a little ingenious, and then create a headline or a tagline that's more catchy, that will attract people.
All right, Isaac, you know what we're going to do next week? We're going to have you in studio and you make a presentation on that. I think this is interesting stuff that people need to learn. And that's The Marketplace. Everyone, thanks for your time with us. My name is Darryl Kwao. We will be back same time tomorrow.